What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actors gets pushed too far by a talk show host who thinks he can say anything? In just 22 seconds, Jonathan Ross would deliver the comment that would destroy his reputation forever and force Michael Caine to walk out in front of millions of viewers. This is the exclusive story of what really happened last night when cameras captured the most shocking celebrity meltdown in television history. The studio was buzzing with anticipation, the lights blazing and the audience murmuring with excitement. Michael Caine, legendary actor known for his calm demeanor and unmatched professionalism, had taken his seat across from Jonathan Ross. Tonight, Caine was here to promote his latest film, but nobody anticipated that what would unfold would become the talk of the nation for weeks to come. Ross, with his trademark cocky smile and confident posture, leaned back in his chair, clearly comfortable in his element. Known for pushing boundaries and testing the patience of even the most composed guests, Ross seemed ready to play his usual game. But tonight, he would go too far. "So, Michael," Ross began, voice dripping with familiar smugness, "I have to ask about your early days. Before Hollywood knew you. You were just another struggling actor from South London, right?" Caine nodded politely, hands folded neatly in his lap. "Yes, Jonathan. We all start somewhere. I worked very hard to reach where I am today." Ross interrupted with a dismissive wave. "Come on now. Let's be honest. Those early performances, they weren't exactly fire, were they?" A hush fell over the audience. It wasn't playful teasing. It felt sharper, more cutting. Caine's jaw tightened, but he maintained composure. "I think every actor looks back at their early work and sees room for improvement. That's part of growth." Ross leaned forward, a predatory glint in his eye. "Room for improvement? Michael, I've seen those old films. You were wooden. No emotion, no range. How did you even keep getting work?" The room shifted uncomfortably, sensing the line being crossed. Camera lenses captured Caine's expression change subtly, from calm to controlled irritation. "Caine, perhaps we should focus on why I'm here tonight," Caine said quietly. Voice calm but sharp. Ross, sensing a challenge, ignored it. "I mean, you fooled everyone into thinking you're a great actor. But really, wasn't it all luck? Right place, right time, right accent." The words hung in the studio air like a challenge thrown down. Caine's eyes locked onto Ross. "Lucky? You think 50 years in this business, working with the greatest directors, earning peer respect, is luck?" His voice was low, precise, commanding attention. Ross, momentarily unsettled, shrugged. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. What's left, if not dedication and craft?" Caine's calm tone now carried authority, almost palpable in the silence of the studio. Ross's face, once full of cocky confidence, now betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. For the first time that evening, the host realized he had underestimated Michael Caine. The legendary actor's voice, calm yet piercing, carried through the studio like a sharpened blade. "You think destroying someone's career for amusement is acceptable? You think it's clever to humiliate your guest in front of millions?" The audience was completely captivated. Cameras zoomed in on Ross's shifting expression, his usual charm nowhere in sight. Caine stepped closer to the desk separating them, his presence commanding the room. "I have spent 50 years earning respect, honing my craft, learning from the greatest directors of our time. You sit here in a suit and assume tearing others down makes you powerful. That is not power, Jonathan. That is weakness masked as entertainment." Ross opened his mouth to respond, but Caine's intensity was overwhelming, leaving him momentarily speechless. The crowd could sense the shift. This was no longer a heated interview. It was a masterclass in dignity under fire. "You talk about honesty," Caine continued, voice growing stronger. "But honesty requires integrity, preparation, and respect. What you call tough questions tonight was character assassination. You came here not to explore my career, but to settle personal scores disguised as jokes." Ross's hands fidgeted on the desk, sweat beginning to bead on his forehead. "Michael, please. Let's—" Caine cut him off, his blue eyes locking with Ross's. "No, I am done. I came with respect, and I expect the same in return. If you cannot offer that, I will leave. And I suggest you reflect on your actions." The studio was frozen in stunned silence. Even the production crew paused behind the cameras. The audience, initially expecting lighthearted banter, now witnessed something far more profound. a man refusing to allow humiliation to dictate the narrative of his life. Caine's voice softened slightly, but the authority remained. Entertainment should uplift, challenge, and enlighten. It should not demean or destroy. Tonight, you failed not only your guest, but your audience. Ross attempted another desperate recovery, leaning forward, voice faltering. But Michael, your fans want to see the real you. They want honesty. Caine's gaze did not waver. Then let me show them what real honesty looks like. I have faced critics, journalists, and directors who challenged me, all with professionalism and purpose. You, on the other hand, masqueraded cruelty as entertainment. His tone left no room for misinterpretation. He was not just defending himself, he was delivering a judgment. The host's smirk had disappeared completely. The arrogance that had defined his career was crumbling under Caine's precise articulation of respect and professionalism. The audience began to murmur, then clap softly, a ripple that would grow into an overwhelming wave. Caine did not react immediately. He remained composed, letting the tension sit like a loaded pause in the air. A platform like yours carries responsibility. Tonight, you chose spectacle over substance. That is your choice, Jonathan. But the rest of us, those who dedicate their lives to craft, we endure and prevail. Caine's words resonated far beyond the studio. Viewers at home, many of whom had followed Ross's antics for years, realized they were witnessing a pivotal moment in television history. This was no ordinary confrontation. It was a lesson in professionalism, in respect, and in the power of composure when faced with provocation. The host's desperation grew, yet Caine's calm authority dominated every frame. Caine began walking toward the exit, every step deliberate, his composure unwavering. The studio had become a theater of contrasts, one man trembling with desperation, the other calm and authoritative, radiating decades of experience and earned respect. Ross opened his mouth one final time, trying to salvage something from the wreckage of his evening. Michael, wait. You can't just walk out. We can. No. Caine interrupted, his voice calm, yet absolute, commanding attention. I cannot remain in a space where respect is absent. I came here to share my work, my passion, and my craft, not to endure petty attacks disguised as conversation. I will not be reduced to entertainment fodder for someone's ego. The audience was fully engaged, some standing, some clapping, all transfixed. The air in the studio was electric. Every eye was on Caine as he took a deep breath and continued. Let me be clear. What you did tonight is not television. It is spectacle at the cost of dignity. You used your platform to humiliate rather than to enlighten or entertain. And that is where you, Jonathan, crossed the line. Ross, now visibly shaken, tried one last desperate appeal. But think of the audience. Think of the ratings. They want the truth. Caine's blue eyes locked onto Ross, cold and precise. The truth requires honesty, preparation, and respect. What you offered tonight was deception disguised as insight. You confused cruelty for cleverness, and it has failed spectacularly. The audience erupted in applause, the sound swelling like a tide. Caine acknowledged them with a subtle nod, his voice now addressing the millions watching at home. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this. You deserve better entertainment, better respect, and better example. True entertainment elevates. True respect empowers. And tonight, that is the lesson we must take away. Ross sat frozen behind his desk, the weight of the humiliation pressing down on him. His usual confidence had vanished, replaced by a dawning realization of how badly he had misjudged his guest. The cameras continued rolling, capturing every detail, every tremor in his face, every bead of sweat forming on his forehead. He had underestimated the power of professionalism, the authority of experience, and the strength of a man who had earned his reputation through decades of dedication. Caine, having delivered his message, walked with measured calm toward the studio exit. Jonathan, he said quietly but firmly over his shoulder, I hope someday you understand the difference between entertainment and cruelty. Until then, I suggest you find guests willing to tolerate the treatment you think is acceptable. As the doors closed behind him, the audience rose to its feet in a standing ovation. Not for spectacle, not for drama, but for a masterclass in dignity, grace, and earned respect. The cameras caught Ross alone at his desk, speechless, his career momentarily overshadowed by a single unwavering act of professionalism. That night, television history was made, not by a scripted controversy or manufactured drama, but by a man who refused to compromise his dignity. A man whose life and career had been built on craft, integrity, and respect. Michael Caine walked out victorious, leaving behind a host whose arrogance had been fully exposed. The lesson was clear: real respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned, and it cannot be taken lightly, even on live television.